Okay.
May 27, 2026 meeting of Ocean Highway and Port Authority is now called to order. If you would stand with me as we have Michael lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we are blessed in this great country. We thank you for all the blessings. We pray that you watch over our leaders, give them wisdom to make the right decisions for us. We pray for our first responders and service men and women, wherever they might be. You watch over them and keep them safe. We ask that you would be with us tonight as we make decisions for the Port of Catalina and the citizens of Nassau County. All of this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to God, the United States of America, to power, according to this, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Call vote.
Commissioner Cole,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Hill, here, Vice Chair Moore,
Here.
Chair Nelson.
Here.
Thank you. You have a point.
All right. I'd like to take just a short second and welcome our regulars tonight. We got Mr. B's here with us, and we got Doug back with us. Good to see you. We got Lowell back with us, so going to get on through that. We don't have any public comments tonight, so we can get on through that. So our next is number 7, consent item for the TIDP. I'm sure there's some discussion that needs to be on that. Mr. Mayor, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, if you would allow Doug to come up and we'll kind of tag team this. So while he's walking up, I asked Douglas to send out the latest and greatest. Guys, we know, last time was rushed because we sort of were delayed in making a decision. This time it was kind of the federal government that did it to us. Obviously we wanted to see if we had won the grant before we were going to submit, and so we didn't. Just as a recap, we made it to what I call the final cut, which I think was a positive development. And I think that anybody that tuned into the call of MARAD would agree. I think we got some really, really valuable insight. And then as another last minute change, we've agreed to contribute. So just so we talk about that for a second, we'll get the nuts and bolts with Douglas. The reason I realize what we're committing to is sort of a drop in the bucket. I would say, and I hope you agree with me, that the strategy there is to try to get us into a different tier of candidates. I imagine, and the feedback I sort of heard on the calls was there were a number of applications that asked for, in the small project designation, that did ask for 100% federal funding, right? And that does ding you. It does ding you in the rankings. And so the hope is that by offering a match, albeit a small match, it gets us into a different designation. And so, thanks to Ridgewood for helping me out there in that. And but we'll jump right into the nuts and bolts of it. Yeah. How do you want to do this? You questions, comments, or?
I mean, I can start by just kind of saying what their
Yeah.
was,
Good.
and then we can go there.
Yes.
Yeah, so obviously we had the debrief meeting with MARAD. We got a lot of good feedback. As Ted said, we were viewed pretty highly. We made it to what is effectively the last round of selections before ultimately not being selected. But at the end of the day, the feedback was very pointed. There were specific items that they expected to see that was graded as higher that, we covered all of those. There was some notes about getting more specific data, like number of outages due to flooding, any cost data or any downtime data and things like that. Just more parts of what the effect of the flooding, the rain, and obviously what the repairs would do. at the port, there were also some line items where they were concerned with contingency, where in reality, our contingency was baked into the individual construction and engineering numbers versus a hard line number at the end. They wanted to see the hard line number at the end. So we really just followed the feedback that we got from them very explicitly, kind of one by one, and addressed them all where they were. If we didn't necessarily agree, with the feedback that we got, we provided that explanation in here, as well as to why we weren't, matching exactly what the feedback was. But following that, we did go back and do a round of, so Ted sent us some comments. We had some comments from Fontaine that were added in here as well. So it has been through a few rounds.
And the match was added.
And the match is added.
If you look at this
That's
version,
added
it's
the
zero.
previous version, yes. So the match is added. There were several comments of some additional things that Marriott was looking for that didn't make it into this version, but now are represented in it. So really, the project scope is the same. There were some requirements of this year's funding that were a little different, that they wanted to see some certain justifications on what was it, innovative technology and some smaller things like that we just worked into, baked into how the construction was going to be done at the end of the day. But yeah, I think it represents that it's the same project. It's just buttoned up a little neater and meets the specific things that Marriott said we needed to improve on, or things that we may have gotten a ding on scoring wise.
Yeah, I'll jump in here and say one thing that was sort of surprising for me that was a little eye-opening was, in my brain, okay, we got quotes and we trust these guys. Here's the number. Here's how to max out the 11.25. Well, one of the big comments I wrote a note down was, you said you have no room for contingency. And this is not an ongoing project. It's really your first foray here, right? And in a nice way, he said, we can't trust you with this, right? You're saying you're gonna take all these funds, you're gonna do all this stuff with no contingency. That's not gonna fly. So I think we're down to what, 25% contingency.
So the contingency was in the previous estimate. It was
just tiny.
It was hidden. Well, no, we had that contingency line item as well, but actually in the construction estimates themselves, we had our own reserve contingency.
Yeah.
I guess we assumed that it needed to be there so that the project didn't look like it was undoable. When in reality, they did want to see that reflected.
Yeah.
So we moved it out. We're at about 21%. The number that they referenced in the call was actually 30%. But I think that takes a lot of I don't think that's really representative for the project. A big portion of the work that we're doing is repair of existing structures. So there aren't a ton of unknowns on, more than half of the project.
Yeah.
There aren't a ton of unknowns. So we explained that in here that, even though respectfully, they say they should have been around the 30% area. We believe that number is probably accurate for some of the civil repairs that we're going to do, the stuff that we don't have the geotech works for yet. But for the structural repairs, we really know what the condition is, and we have a good feel of what those repairs are going to be. So we shifted it a little bit further down, and I believe we ended up right around 21% of contingency is where we ended up. But that's really the only difference. And then also explaining the port's relationship with Relay and their parent company that we can use as guidance on doing a project of this magnitude. So that's what they really wanted to see, is that, or what a point that we were dinged on was, having not done a project of this size, likely since the port was constructed originally, how capable was the port of doing. So we kind of drove home the point that with Relay as the operator and their parent company, they have experience doing projects this size that we can call on as needed as we do this grant work.
Any questions?
Your patient in reading over first of all, I haven't been for the 2025 vacation, so certainly quality out. And somebody reading grants and the fact that we got to the final round when they first filed is outstanding, of course. They will get down to the first loser, right? That's unfortunate, but I think this is a strong. Like the skin of the game, we're at $50,000, even though it's, the skin of things relatively small, should certainly be bought. And how I'll put us in the cut off, the other ports that, we're in the same situation as hot in when, do not put in drainage, so it's a little bit better position, but hopefully we'll roll the day on the changes, that, yeah. Commissioner.
Well, yeah, so with these construction projects, is there any disruption to the existing operation for the construction process? I see the timelines, the project schedule there, but when I saw the project area, it's basically like the whole side yard. I know it doesn't really match up with the structures that are there, because since the building has been, fabric has been moved, so I have a question about that outside line. Are they very strict about that line? Or
No, so we're estimating that we're in the approximately 10% design stage of this. So no, I mean, really, the scope has the ability to, we are intentionally not incredibly specific about what the areas are exactly where they're going to go. Now, the underground storage, those numbers are specific.
Yeah,
But
like that.
but for the area that's shown there, yeah, that certainly has the ability to be adjusted. And then as far as during construction, it would certainly need to be planned in phases to, not touch operations as much as possible, but yeah, obviously you're working on most of that lower portion of the yard. So there are gonna be disruptions, but the goal would be to phase them in a way that has lowest or least impact on operations.
yeah, so for like the earth movement activities for the underground storage, that seems like that would be pretty significant if the port's operations. So like in terms of timeline.
Yeah, we have estimated timeline numbers in there towards the end. Right. Yeah, likely it would have to be staged, but to be completely honest, we're just not there on a design point yet. That's a further down the line question, but it is a good question. And there is going to be impact, but the objective would be to make that as small as possible by doing it likely in phases and sectioning out portions where, setting some space aside on one side while you're working on the other side so that you can store materials effectively.
Yeah, I mean, if I do a rough measurement, the underground storage, which is really gonna be the only real big excavation we're gonna do, right? Is about a 1/4 acre, including a working area.
Yeah, most of it's going to be regrading and leveling the site, but yeah,
And we can do
have
that
to run
for
pipes,
right?
but yes, yeah, that could be a mistake.
And then the rail line, does removing that rail give us less flexibility or redundancy in our crane to support like operations for vessels? Like, are we basically saying that an entire portion of the berth can't be served by Honda? Well, it's not really on rail, but the crane rail.
So if I may jump in, the crane rail is that middle crane rail that was served by the Clyde. And so, all going well, we'll knock that out FDOT. And one of these ancillary grants, I think we're gonna wrap up tomorrow.
We've
So,
since removed that from this, that documentation has since this revision has been on test request.
so that crane rail was just for the old, what's called the Clyde crane, remember the one with the ospreys in it? So that crane has been scrapped by relay, and so you no longer need that center rail. So the two container cranes run on the outside rails, the rails that we use now, and then the mobile harbor crane is a rubber tire model that doesn't need crane rails.
So like no future activities would need that rail if we remove it.
Not really. I mean, if you look at the span of that rail, it's really narrow. I mean, this is a crane that was built in the 40s, 50s.
I believe it's 40-foot gauge.
Yeah, it's a 32-foot gauge, which is really narrow for any sort of. I mean, the only thing I could think of would be like a small ship loader or something that would take a grade that's
Your
I mean,
The mobile crane you have is gonna be significantly more effective than anything that you would put back on those rails. And then the other downside of that would be not being able to run your bigger cranes all the way to the end. It's obviously some, where whatever piece of equipment you put down there would have to at least be stowed at the very end.
yeah, and we probably chewed up $10,000 of tires from that crane rail because it's a, you know, you have to think it's a flat concrete and then there's a 3-inch gap and then a piece of hardened steel rail, another 3-inch gap, and then concrete. And so we're having to always lay plate down to get across it. And then when a little forklift wheel catches it the wrong end, it just tears chunks out of tires. And so I mean, really, if I could go back in time, I would just done it when I first started. That's a mistake on my part, but we're doing it now.
That rail be in bad shape as it stands.
Yeah.
It is in bad shape, so it does need to go. Any other questions? Let's go.
You have to plate that involve it.
With small forklifts, yes. Yeah. I'll also add just to the mix here, you know, y'all probably seen the in meetings, he's sort of leading the thorough effort. Of course, nobody can match this guy on the state level, Barnwell, right?
Yes.
But we have, I mean, I'll tell you, we've had some really good conference calls and introductions to people in DC, USDOT, MARAD. Some doors have been opened and, you know, I think some odds have been opened. And so, you know, like it or not, this is the way the game's played. You know, advocacy and lobbying is part of it. And so we're putting our weight behind that as well. Because I really do, I want us to win this one. Because I do think, you know, not only is it transformative for the port, but it puts us on the map, right? You know, we're in there, we're getting a federal grant, and now we have a track record of successful projects. So.
Is there precedent for the clubbing system and how effective it is?
You mean I mean, I can tell you it's designed for a 10-year event. I'm not the civil engineer myself, but it is designed for a 10-year rainfall event. We do talk a little bit about that after the statement. That's also new in the newest version, but what it's going to do is it will help the floodwaters get out when it gets to it. At about 7.5 feet, the port has flooding regardless. There's nothing that we can do about it, just tidal flooding, without raising the whole port 4 or 5 feet, which I think we discussed last time. But the drainage system itself is designed to convey the 10-year storm. So what that does in reality is that 6 foot to 7.5 foot tidal range. If you have even a 3-month rainfall event, which obviously once every 3 months, even if you have that level, you're going to get up to like 2 feet of flooding on like an acre or so of the site. Or maybe it's not 2 feet, but you get flooding over approximately 1 to 2 acres of the site at a 3-month rainfall event at a 6-foot tidal swing. That 6 to 7.5 foot happens about 388 instances over the year. So you're not seeing it unless there's a big wind event pushing water that way. You're not seeing the water on the site yet, but under almost any significant or even medium level rain event, you're going to see flooding on site.
Because there's nowhere for the water to
They're
go.
right. It just can't go anywhere. So it adds to the tide and stacks up on site. What this will do is it'll make you effectively, significantly safer for all of those 388 events. As long as your rain event in theory doesn't pass the 10-year event now, it will be able to take that water off the site, store it, and then pump it out as the tide recedes. But in addition to that, it will help water get off of the site faster on just your standard tidal conditions as well. So it kind of works twofold. Obviously, we can't stop the tide from being at 7.5 feet, but it makes us significantly safer on anything under that event.
Well, I also add it's a complicated property because you have a rail line that goes right through the middle of it, right? And they're owned by G&W, who's a very litigious organization. They're a monster. They own the most short lines in the United States, I believe. So, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but if we raise the whole port, let's just say hypothetically we did that, we're just going to push more water to that rail track. And that rail track is going to become a river. And maybe they play nice, but what we could do is we could really degrade the rail service to West Rock. And we could make flooding go even further towards downtown and effectively make a rail corridor a river. And so, I mean, that's sort of the 20-30 year, timeframe of the sport. We're gonna have to address that one.
That's something.
And I'm actually meeting the short line tomorrow to talk about a host of things. That's gonna be one of them.
Yeah, it feels like a temporary solution.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately with the small projects, and small cores, the maximum funding that you can get is $11 million. And to raise the site 4 or 5 feet that we're estimating it would need to be raised to safely keep you out of all this flooding. I mean, you're talking about like, I think we did numbers on it last time. I want to say it was in the $50 million range. I do not remember the number specifically, but we did talk about it last round. And just, yes, it is going to, I mean, the system is aimed to save the rainfall events on top, because like we said, without $50 million, you're not gonna be able to raise the
Well,
site.
we are gonna improve some
Absolutely.
of these drains. So if you look now, some of these drains and the culverts are so worn out. We're gonna put backflow preventers, which will help.
Sure.
It'll help that influx from the top as well. So, I mean, all that infrastructure, I mean, if you go walk it, it's just it's very old, it's pretty broken. But yeah, but I agree, I'd say it's more than a Band-Aid, but it's not an organ replacement, if you will. But I'll say that, a good portion of the project though, is fixing the top side and the dock structure.
Yeah,
Which
really,
really-
that ends up being about 60 to 70% of the project money actually goes to the dock repairs itself. So really, that's the meat of the project. But certainly for the resiliency items that we're hitting, obviously fixing your dock is a resilient item, certainly. But the one that it looks really good on the side that we're also trying to convey that water and pull, because any water that we keep off the site is going to keep the rest of the site from deteriorating quicker as well. So it's closer to a Band-Aid, but certainly under this grant, there's just no way to achieve a solution that gets you out of those flooding.
So I'm just curious, how do you do year-round storage if you have groundwater at level?
That's a great question for civil engineering.
Because
Oh,
Front Street, the city's doing
Yeah.
stormwater project, and they didn't put in retaining walls, so they've had the street open for months because it keeps flooding every time the tide changes. So I'm just curious, like.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to
other
have-
ports that are doing underwater, like underground retention that's basically like below.
so they're in tanks. So obviously we have to make sure that the tanks stay underground.
But they don't float up.
Right, so they don't float up, obviously. But all of the rainwater itself runs through our drainage, which is gonna be steel and concrete. I assume it's gonna be steel and concrete pipes, but it's gonna be piping that runs directly to there and then pumped out. With the backflow prevention as well, we're not gonna get that tidal water in there. So really, the way I understand it is it's kind of a closed loop for the rain, that it shouldn't have any intrusion from ground. Is the way that I understand that.
Kind of a one-way
Yeah.
exit only.
Just out, yeah.
So if we get like, so let's just say all things go our way and we get this report. And then we're 10% engineered and we discover that like. All these contingencies, maybe it's not possible to do it this way. Can we modify the plans, do what's possible?
I mean, certainly, yeah, I mean, that's part of
We would basically negotiate.
Yeah, that's part of the contingent item. I think as long as we stay, so again, obviously still the big portion of work is concrete repair, and that's not changing. Right? But yeah, I mean, there's obviously they know that we have limited funding to start this effort. So that's part of that contingent effort that we're talking about. And again, really we have more contingencies set aside, more of that money that we can put towards the civil effort than putting towards, again, the structural effort, because really that structure, we know a lot better what those repairs are going to be and what the condition already is. So yes, to answer your question, I mean, there is going to be opportunity to, as we find out things, if we find it's not possible, certainly we would find the next best solution that would figure out together. Yeah.
Yeah, and just we're gonna have to sort of bob and weave a little bit. So if you look at the map, this yellow crossing here, the very north crossing. I'm meeting with the short line tomorrow. One of the topics, I sort of went and talked to a lot of the guys that have been out here and done at the port for a while. So this crossing's, I'm looking to put some pavement here to level this up, but this crossing is basically riprap right now. Well, they said, well, it used to be concrete and there was a broken rail and the short line came in and just fixed the rail, but then they never put it back in concrete. And I'm like, well, that's not okay. And so we're gonna meet tomorrow. I mean, I've got a verbal from them already saying, yeah, we think it's the right thing to do, like to put your crossing back. So that might be, I mean, that's probably a 50K.
That was a piece of this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's something we could
It's a smaller.
reallocate, just like
Well,
framing.
Yeah. If we need to adjust it, there are places that we can go. We could even, I mean, I don't expect it to come to this, but I mean, if you needed to, you could change your scope for the concrete repairs to cover the most severe areas if you needed a little bit extra there. Because again, we don't get into, the grant doesn't say we're doing 40% of all the piles are being repaired. So it doesn't say anything like that. That's how we've done our estimates, and that's what the data that we have shows us. But yeah, certainly we could, if we needed to do one to fix the other, we've been intentionally vague, and we are allowed to be down at 10% design. Just that we won't know till we get further along that stage.
If you, you would share estimate for how long will we get approximately that take to de-water for a 7.5 foot flood?
That is a question that I can ask our civil engineers. Yes, I can ask that and see what he thinks the number would be. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a number of factors, like how long that tide is at 7.5 plus, and what the typical recession time is. I think in our study we saw that it was about 6 hours to clear currently.
That's what I was gonna say. If you go see a flooding event, like tide comes in and then tide starts dropping out, but the water stays because the drainage isn't great and you're in kind of a bowl. And so it takes a long time to really get up. What happens with this system, speak up for me, it's tide goes back out or the pumps kick on and it goes through the one-way system.
As soon as it can pump through.
As soon as it can pump through, it's gone.
The end of the pump will be covered here. So as it recedes, the pump itself will in theory have already taken on a ton, or the system will have already taken on a ton of water. The second it starts flooding, the system will start storing as much water as it possibly can in those tanks. And then as soon as the tide recedes far enough that the end is open, it would start ejecting that one. But as far as the number, I would have to ask.
I'm just curious, how effective this is. We're talking about 6 hours to de-water for as it stands now. So 3 hours.
Yeah, right.
And you should building will join still 6 hours.
You're right. It'll certainly be faster because it would have taken on water right at the beginning. As it ejects that water, it will continue taking on water. So it'll be faster, obviously. But unfortunately, I don't have it for you on top of that.
Did you look at discharging directly into the spinning slough? As opposed to doing housing, which is like underground vaults?
I don't think so. I think the intention was to get it back offsite where it's currently going offsite as an effort to stay away from additional permitting. Don't quote me on that. That's more on the civil side, but I think that was the intention, was to keep it going out in the same place it's currently going out, to not add additional pieces to that.
Where's the third one?
It's actually if you zoom way in, where the pump station is, it's going out at that corner south of the rail line. So where go over to the right. So it goes out towards the dock, but it also comes out
That's what.
at that corner. Sorry. Yes, right there with Jet's message. So there's a water goes out.
Let's see, Stanview Slough.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
where
what
we're
it'll
pumping.
Yeah, the pump.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's where we're pumping it to.
So why do we need that? I'm just not Mirrors, like the detention, rivers, like the undergrounds.
because of the tidal. So if it rains and a tide is up, there's nowhere we can't eject the water if water is already higher than where our outfall is.
So the tanks are buffer capacity.
I'm not sure I understand. So it's designed to carry rain, to get rain off the site. But
It will also pump.
it will also,
King
any
to-
water that comes onto the
Yeah.
site go into the drainage system through there.
You know, I mean, you
Sure,
can't pump the sea into an underground ball. Right?
understood.
Okay.
But right now, it's just sitting on the site. Until it all recedes. This is
So
a pump to
is
the
there
site.
like, or is there a bulkhead, like, you can't do that because of the rail.
And
Is
it,
there a way to bulkhead?
Well, you would have to bulkhead the entire site. I mean, the entire north portion of the site, including where the rail is in all instances. We talked about that. And the problem becomes if you put a bulkhead wall, you obviously can't do it at the rail. The water just comes in through the rail anyway. You just have a river coming through the rail right on the site. That's what we found in our, elevation check when we did our site map that we did is really, there's no way to just seawall it unless you have some kind of holistic approach that includes the railroad either direction of the site.
You know, I mean, as much as I like. The idea of being able to pump, into it falls, like that's a finite space, and if it's coming in through the ocean, the low point of the rail, I don't see how there's. A solution that doesn't involve raising the rail. I mean,
I agree.
Like, yeah, but certainly, but the problem is it has to be raised all the way throughout, and that's obviously our property at that point, so it had to be a joint venture. In addition to raising our whole site, which again is like that, I believe is in like that 40-50 million range, which is just not what this grant can fund realistically.
Well, in those heavy downpours, it doesn't help when your rain is, the actual grading is 6 to 8 inches above your asphalt or your concrete. I mean, you're gonna have that much water standing, but once you get those rain situations where you've got that pump action, sure, it's gonna be pushing it out a whole lot quicker than it would run out. So,
Absolutely.
so
Or
your
evaporate.
transition is gonna be much quicker. Which you'll see, if you've only ever been out there, when it happens, you'll see exactly, it's self-explanatory what's going on, but. I think that there's some issues with that, the ductwork that goes out, I think some of that's collapsed and it's magnifying the problem.
Yeah, like I said, that tidal water comes in through our drains right now as well, so you're not just seeing it coming by way of the rail, it's coming through the drains.
Bubbles up.
So it's, it does a lot of those.
Okay, anything else? All right, it's my understanding tomorrow at 10:30, there's going to be an input session on this into the system. Everything's packaged and ready. I know you and I fully executed the letter. So are we needing anything else, that you can think of? Or are we all ready to take care of that tomorrow?
So we have our grant expert is gonna do one final pass tonight, NOFA versus our document, just make sure everything's squared, and that's it. But the document that I sent at about 5:15 this afternoon is 99.5% there. She just wants to do one final check on.
So there need to be a motion and vote to move forward with the actual.
Yes, please, that way it's in the records.
More question, I'm sorry, is the matching fund, is the matching amount from the first dollar, or is that subject to revision if the entire grant is awarded?
Sorry, agree.
Is
There we
the,
go.
is the matching commitment the first dollars that will be expended?
First dollars that would be.
So the first $250,000 will be the match, or if they don't award the full request, are you gonna lower your match?
Good question. What did they say about, did they say they short funded any of the lenders? Or they?
No, I don't think they would, I'm not sure they would know that yet. I think that's under their, as they continue to go on throughout the project, they could potentially short fund them, but. Upfront, I don't know that they cut
mean,
anybody's out of that. I don't even.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as it's reasonably towards the number, we would stick to our guns. But I mean, if they reduce us down to 1 million, then I think in good faith, we would look at the match again. But no, if they reduce us down to 9 million, I'll still contribute the same amount or 8 million or whatever.
Well, it's just presented as a flat amount, it's not a percentage, so that's why we just,
Okay,
it just says, it's a $250,000 non-federal cost share provided by VLA.
That's a good-
So I would just say that is.
yeah, I'd just say just be reasonable with me. I mean, as long as it's not a considerable ding to the 11.2 ask, then we'll still contribute the same amount.
So are those funds committed for these projects regardless of the grant being awarded? Or is that, are those funds only gonna be spent?
Those funds are allocated towards the PIDP.
That Relay's not going to invest in these projects at that level if this isn't awarded?
Well, so if I were to take just on my own $250,000, we wouldn't even scratch the surface of fixing this. What we're trying to, I mean, this is a sort of a,
So I'm just saying the projects won't happen without the grant.
I don't think so, because as we've stated here, you know, this is sort of a budget friendly mitigation measure, if you will. It's not a total fix. And so I don't think so. I don't think I can afford that amount of money out of pocket.
Not the full 11 million, but I'm just asking if Relay is committed to spending that funding on any of these projects, any and all of these projects, as portions thereof, regardless, like it just says that it's committed, but is that commitment contingent on the grant?
I would say as it's written today, yes.
Any other questions?
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the PIDP application and provide everything tonight. That's a final grant. Have to be put in the model.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you for answering all the questions.
Sure, no problem. Sorry. I'll try to get some more civil stuff.
You did great.
Thank you a lot. All right, going to get into our old business, A with the website redesign. I believe we're at the end. Would you like to come up and share with us on that? But I believe that it's been completed.
It is complete, 100% complete. Your website is accessible.
Okay.
Has anyone tried the text to voice feature? Any of the board members, I'm just curious. Let's try that.
I haven't been done yet.
Do you mean the call?
Sorry,
You mean the call button?
the like the ADA reading button. I haven't tried it.
All right, and looking over, looks very, very good. Did you have?
Yes, Chair, if I may, working with Mrs. Osborne and Mr. Kaplan, they work as a team. They were very professional and they catered to my skill level, if you will, and very, very helpful. And I thank you. I thank you for accommodating me. And also one instance when we were training with Matt, they created an app. Remember that?
Yes.
They created an app just for OHPA for me to post the agenda, and it made it so easy that they're going to use it moving forward with other their other clients. It was fascinating to watch. So I'm very happy with the board's choice with this bolster and ADA allies.
Okay, I know that you've gone through some training with them, so I'm sure they'll give you support whenever you need it.
Yes,
So
she's nodding her head.
greatly appreciate it.
I
Any other
provided a 31-page training document for her to refer to.
Yeah,
So she also has that to pass on if for some reason she was ever gonna leave, which she never can. But if she was, she's got that document to pass on step by step.
And I made sure that Mrs. Osborne will be available for any kind of questions. Just,
Yes,
I mean, just, you know, how do you do this type of deal.
absolutely.
And so is Ms. Chapman. Yeah, very.
Um,
well, let me first. Okay.
the, old website had a link to our charter and upgrade the break. The new one does not. Now, do we have another place that we can go to see that?
There is a link to the charter in the footer, and it's on the OHPA business page. The decision was made to not put the operating agreement on the website. It can be used, it can be asked for due to customer promotion. It was not remediated. We limited the remediation to the bare minimum of what was required.
Lori, great job. I just wanted to say thank you. It's definitely a much needed upgrade. What we had, just high aesthetics and functionality. So I certainly appreciate your efforts to really go like
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I looked it over. It's professional. I think, as the job, thank you.
It's good.
It was a pleasure working with you guys and
Lori, we're looking for some kickback.
that's right. I don't think it's gonna charge us one for it. Me and Matt both joke, because we run nonprofit businesses, we just call them for profit. Pretty much. But no, it was a pleasure, definitely a pleasure supporting you guys, and if there is anything that you need, and if you find anything that doesn't work or is wrong or anything, let Rosanna know and I will fix it immediately. You will never have a problem with me.
Thank you for your assistance. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Do we need to vote to approve it being good?
It doesn't hurt. You might,
I failed to do that after design, so.
yeah,
Let's get a motion.
you might as well.
motion to approve the sites to step full user.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, let's move down to the fabric warehouse. I know that tonight we need to settle the orientation on that building, which way it's going to be reconstructed. I know that FDOT came in to assist in this matter. From day one, I've been the person that stuck with the north-south, but I did make a statement that if we were going to have FDOT come in, that I would honor their recommendation. And based on what I've read, they are the east-west recommendation. So if we have any comments from any of the other commissioners, please voice. If not, we need to go ahead and put that into the record so that the operator knows when he starts dealing with the reconstruction on which way that he needs to instruct the contractor to put the building. Any comments? Yes, sir.
No, I agree, and it's the same there, it's been the resources to do this. We follow our recommendations. We have a lot of experts involved with this relocation of the warehouse. So I agree, kind of, there's 3 options here. one that goes south, the other two east-west. One that sits in the northeast corner, then it sits, sorry, northern edge, the other sits on the southern, their recommendations being in southern edge, so three. So I would, yeah, that's a recommendation,
Any other comment?
Make a motion, for two, three.
So, all in favor, aye? Aye. Motion carries. East and west, on the southern, wishing.
Yep, we'll get, so what we'll do is, obviously Travis isn't here tonight, but I'll hand off this, he's probably listening. I'll hand off this information, we'll get the contract going, of course, it's a full permits, but, how do y'all want to do this? It's a hot button item. Do you want like you want Travis to email you a weekly report, an update on what's going on, or all the commissioners, or Rosanna? Like I've got my marching orders, but I just want to know how we want to communicate, because most problems are caused and solved by communication.
Well, I think if you will just, the weekly updates go to Rosanna, that way she can distribute them to the commissioners. And that way, if there's any questions or concern, we can go back to her with it, and she can, that way you're dealing with the same person, and you're not getting shot at from all of them.
Okay. I'm gonna ask the contractor to put together like a Gantt chart and start updating it, and that way it's just the same thing every time. We can just update, and that way it's not just a bunch of narrative and emails going back and forth. It's a standard update, if that's okay with everybody.
Commissioners, you have any different idea on that?
That's great.
I think if we just streamline the communication, everybody should get what they need.
Okay, thanks.
I would note that the FDOT assessment that we've just accepted is very specific as to where the effective dwelling is to be located. You need to be held to that exact commitment.
Okay.
It's part of the growth sort of way, part of the problem that slowed us down this growth sort of year we do set up. And you are a decision to change the decision that was made. So
Yep.
very specific as to location, the setbacks, the distance from the back edge of the road. Eastern edge of the property line, so very specific.
Understood.
I was just curious, is the permitting process to rebuild on the way? It has.
No, because we didn't know the orientation or where we were gonna be doing it. So, but it'll start ASAP now.
Okay.
Okay, anything further on that? I'm gonna go on to number C, 39 repair. I understand that the board has been replaced.
Mhm.
I know that there's been a request for I believe it's $10,360. Is the remainder on that?
I don't know if did we submit a request for sound?
None.
No, we haven't.
But I did, the last meeting mentioned it to Travis. And he was going to wait on the actual invoice.
We're waiting on the final invoice. I'll be honest with you, the labor, because we were in such a bind. I had to fly in labor, and the bill was a lot higher than I wanted. I'm negotiating with them now, trying to get that bill down a little bit.
All right, well, what I'm gonna do is I'll just defer this to the meeting next month. And if we've got the documentation, then the board will take it under consideration. But we need to see the facts and the figures.
Yeah.
That was what was given to us, so that's.
Yeah.
It was touching.
Chairman, are you talking about the legal fees or the other?
No, the actual repair, the part to repair that crane. On the number 9, had that, yeah. No, it was, we're down at C right there. And I know there was some question about using some of the fund that had been designated by this board for the maintenance dredging. We'll revisit that when we get the facts and figures. We cannot walk away from these crane repairs. That's the life's blood out, and you gotta make sure that we take.
Yeah, and I mean, not to just keep giving bad news, but we pulled the whole generator out of the mobile harbor crane. And we're doing a rush fix on it now. The reason is we have two vessels coming in about 2 weeks that have the same, I think they're gonna end up working together. That crane where it's broken down is right in the way. And so Brandon came up to me yesterday and said, man, we gotta get this crane moved, or we're gonna have to hold one vessel out, which no one wants. So we're dealing with that right now, trying to get the best price for a rebuild with our time frame. So we're within 3 vendors right now, just trying to see what we can do. Price versus cost. I mean, price versus speed.
And I know everybody that I've talked to is concerned about making sure that we keep Summers Isle on their very, very fine scheduling. So you and I were out there the day that Ted White was out there, and that was the topic of discussion.
I know.
What are we doing when we come?
And Crane 9 is so frail. I mean, it's not frail structurally, it's just the electrical systems. Chris is out there all day today, reprogramming it, testing wires, trying to get it where it works well. And it really gives me a lot of anxiety when that blue crane's down too, because that's my only backup. Without that, things go downhill very fast. So, but
Yeah, I know that Summers Isles came in early, and I think they worked in it on Saturday. Was there any issue? I haven't heard.
we have to main the gantry of the crane now. So what we have to do is we have to get heavy equipment and move it and then lock it down. And so it just takes a lot longer. Yeah, but we're making it work.
Okay. All right. That's greatly appreciated by Survive. Keeping the vessel on schedule. All right, so we'll move on to 9 in the new business. RFP to crane refurbishment bid calculations. I want to just say one thing that I've looked on multiple occasions at the bid tabulation, which you came up with, Mr. McNair. And I see that you're trying to get this done in a very quick time, and I think it needs to be done. So I'm going to present this to the board, and then you can come back and you can voice your opinion, obviously. But I've looked at his tabulation and the way that he's tabulating this. He wants to get the most qualified contractor on that crane and get it done in the quick amount of time. So give me your feedback on that, and then we'll look at what I would see and we adopted bid tabulation, we move on with this, because we need to keep flowing. So commissioners, if you have any comments or concerns, have the time to speak up.
Was there only, we have the big calculations from the commission related to the consensus with different collaborators.
Vice Chair, I only received one from you and from Mr. McNair. Because my recommendation was, it was very involved. My recommendation was that the board consider Mr. McNair's bid tabulations the official. And that's what I'm going to submit to FDOT. If
No.
the board pleases.
What was the, I'm sorry, but, what was the difference between the executives? I think that they were pretty strong.
Correct.
Not
They were pretty similar.
two was one, one was two.
And also too, Mr. McNair did the research way before the RFP, so I think he knows the details. But yes, your tabulation does not veer too far from Mr. McNair's.
I will. You know, mine was strictly based on license. That was my my factor that I will on, but, understanding that, prices are always king. There's the need to be able to see the job conditions. Factor and sometimes possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say when you look at if I may,
Go ahead.
if you look at what came in, I mean, it's good we had a lot of different companies, weigh in. We had two big national companies throw their hat in the ring. But, you know, it'll take a little bit more work on our end managing two different vendors, instead of just one for sections A and B. But I was really glad to see that Coker and Nidec came in at a somewhat reasonable cost. I think all y'all have heard, they're right there in Yulee. They do work for us. They're someone we trust to get the job done. And then Nidec does have a really good reputation. I made a lot of calls around including retrofits. So when I talked to Nidec way back then, 6 months ago about this, they said, well, listen, we're not going to be your mechanical guys, but everything electrical on that crane we can come and take care of. And we're one of the only people that still can fully replace the electronic components on a crane that old. So I was fairly happy with where the bids came back. Unfortunately, we only had one bidder for the paint. I mean, what's sad is that these companies, we had 4 different companies quote on it to us, but we all said, hey, you gotta get your bid in, and only one did. But I will say, I talked with Chris Black about it, and he said, well, he felt really good about Rent Safeway, that they've done work for us before, and he likes them, and he thinks they'll do a good job. So all in all, I mean, I was pretty pleased the way it all shook out.
All right. Any other questions, concerns? I want to, entertain a motion to accept the bid tabulation. Yeah, I'll be soon. Second, that'd be like.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks. Let's get this thing rebuilt. Question, when RFPs won, how does the notification happen?
I notify all of them.
So you'll notify all 3 tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Order for Medina Customs and Border Protection building. We need to kind of get an update on this. I know that we had a brief conversation. I'm a little bit concerned that we make sure we feed our information on the grants and the monies that has already been set aside back to CVP, because we all know if they don't hear anything, their assumption is nothing's happened. Even though it is behind the scenes, that's not a good thing to leave them in the dark. So, Commissioner Hill, can you make sure that they're notified? What's the dollar figure that we know that we've got off to the side, about 2 million?
Well, we got about 1 million right now.
Okay.
Here, you got seems like last meeting you had it in your head. Yeah, we have 1 appropriation and 2 grants
One moment.
right now. I think those add up with our matching funds will add up to about 1 million. And then if things swing our way with the governor, we'll be at 2. I think that's if I'm remembering correctly.
I think I may have already kind of taken that big dollar and moved it over, so that's I do believe it. Go ahead.
If I may have, trying to pull it up. Initially, I think we're at, if we would include the 937 that is in this year's budget that is still pending for the governor. We would be at 1.8 million.
Okay.
So it's 2 edit grants that are subject to the matching dollars from relay. And then 2 line item grants. Last year's for 350, it's one for the 937 500.
Got it.
And so, just so to the public record, we are in final state budget. He says, you see the mountain community, thank Representative Black Senator Yarborough for their support. Obviously, it has to go before the governor. He approved the project last year. We're working on our end and our relationships to make sure he approves it this year. Any questions come up, I'll be sure to loop everybody in, but we feel good about it from where we're at right now.
Okay, just for clarity, 1.88 million.
That is including the 937 that is pending. And I probably let me double check those numbers because it's based on FSA grant from several years ago.
That's one.
I think veto that
He could veto the 937 500.
through July 4th.
It will be no by July 1. That's the new state fiscal year. Not received the budget. They're gonna vote on Friday. And then it's whenever they send it to them. My best guess, probably mid to late June, you'll know, right? But July, but definitely by July.
So we got another month of, at the most, of danger zone.
Yes. But I think for the chairman's point, any communication with CBP that said, hey, we are in pending governor's approval, point, let them know that there is progress.
That's support.
And, hopefully get that approval and we can start the field turn and making this a reality.
I agree.
Yeah.
Is the 73,000 local match still in or no?
It's not, so working dot, that is in, and this is where it gets confusing, so. That part of the $350,000 appropriation that they were gonna hold back for that 73,000 is no longer the case. That 73 is made up of the $146,000 initial FSTED grant. That we will pay a match on, it was just being allocated twice.
It was an error bust. Of some sort, right?
Yes.
Oh,
So it was 146,314 said 146,314 local.
And that was when we first the appropriation form, there was talk out wanting to show local participation. And so we split the 146,314 to that $73,000 number. But that money's not coming from OHPA per se, it's coming from your private partner. And so that was confusion. So when they, on the appropriation form, they asked, what is the total amount of dollars from this project? That's where we put in on that matching fund, the local match. Well, that money is committed. It's just committed through the FSTED grant. Theoretically, the matching dollars on the state line also had that money there. So theoretically, the state should have put in, based on their argument, should have put in more money as well. So we've worked through that. And FDOT agrees, and so that's no case. That 73 is still going to be paid through match. It's just allocated to the FSTED match, not for the state appropriation last year.
Okay, so we don't need to notate that with customs, consider it to be resolved.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the number. It was just really it would have been an additional 73 from the private operator that wasn't required.
So total private contribution is 300 approximately, just shy.
Correct.
How stable is it? For those FSTED grants, how long do they get on the bill?
How stale are they? The FSTED grants?
Okay, no, 3 years.
It's another 3 years on the first guy. Probably.
We got a good one with Romo.
Is this for the estimate it was done in 2024 though, for 2.7 million?
That's why in my head it's 3-3, but
Is that a plan to, before we start moving forward and like everything is all in place?
so Fisher, I'm not just trying to kick the can down the road here, but I would love for this to be, I mean, that's a huge state appropriation. I'd love for that to be finalized and then we would, go to CBP with a solid update. I mean, in a perfect world, they'd say, all right, let's go find federal dollars to get this thing over the finish line. And, maybe I throw in a little more or whatever, or, let's find a way to collectively make this happen. We got way too much momentum to say, oh, we're 2/3 of the way there. We can't get over the finish line. I mean, I don't want to keep throwing this on FDOT, but I mean, we are going to be in another round of FDOT funding as well that could help.
Yeah, but that's where it's in progress.
Right,
Money's red, having the bank for that. But, nothing beats, showing progress with a full show.
and we may have to break some. I mean, my plan of, hey, let's save some money by doing a one design build, we may have to break this up. Like, and I'm, I'm willing to do that.
You're right, we progress, but think back to where we were a year and a half ago. Thinking we were losing port of entry, I mean, there's gonna be a huge issue with this. So now we had 1.88 million we had, and then going from last year's $350,000 to appropriation, which was a small piece of it, but it was a good start. To now getting this year $937,000 to add to that, it's huge jump, and so Davis, I mean, the credit really goes to you. Thanks, Dad. I mean, you hired that, but Davis, the credit goes to you, because I know I've seen you over there working it. I know there's been more as you're doing a great job. I don't think you're going to get done without you, but just think back, as we're trying to talk about those next steps, just how much this is, let's get there. So it's a great relief, not seeing, these solutions so we can build bigger.
Yeah, and I'll also add that, it's not lost on me that we probably need some outreach in DC on this item. Right now, PIDP is my number one focus, especially on the federal level. So as soon as we get that done, I'm gonna sort of shift, and I'll probably, if needed, probably try to go up to DC, talk to some people, whoever they can introduce me to, just to see, like, hey, not to go up there and beg for money or make demands. Say, hey, across the United States, at some point, a small port or a small facility or somebody's been in this situation. How did they get over the hump? Or what are some things we can do? What are some different avenues we can look down? So, we'll sort of scratch the surface on that as well.
There's a reason there's so many long lists of people that you can see.
I've realized that.
Sometimes they're on the way to go.
Yeah.
Literally.
Well, I also don't want this board to forget that since 2018, Customs been told, you gotta get building done. You gotta get building done. You gotta get building done. To the point, they finally told us, show us something, or we're going back to Jackson. That's where I'll pick up what you said. We had to get behind this and start pushing the wagon, and we got this far. But it's not without a lot of people's participation and a lot of people's attention. I just don't want us to lose sight of the goal. When we open and dedicate that building, that's when we can sit back and say, you know what, we've done our job. But just keep in mind, 2018, remember when I came on, they came to me, pulled me off to the side and said, it's over. Hey, we're done. They didn't want no lease, didn't want no rent, they didn't impact that. So we have done a significant move forward. So let's just keep this going, and we'll get that new building for them, and then we can move on to something else. So, but thank you for pointing that out. We do need to keep this board moving. Anything further on that?
I think we just need a board motion for the record, because you have to sign the grant agreement.
Okay.
You accept it.
Authorizing you to do that.
What do you remember?
The
That one didn't have any, I looked at that one. Didn't have any mounting.
this is an earmark, so no local match.
No match, it's 100%.
Mhm,
This
And
is for the state. What point we're talking.
yeah, and the operator is good with the scope of work on the grant agreement.
So the scope, you don't have any issue?
Yes, well, enough.
Yeah, it was that was cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve moving forward with the scope on this building as written?
The grant agreement.
Very
Right.
efficient. So I mean,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, I just want to clarify, that's on the PTGA, correct? Okay, all right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Yeah, in favor. I was waiting for you to say discussion, that's why I didn't say aye. Aye,
Do you have any discussion?
no.
Okay. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Just for clarification, Commissioner Hill, do we set up a meeting with the CBP team to update them? We also need to start the RFP for a design build.
Why don't we leave that to Commissioner Hill to set up a meeting with them?
Mhm.
Let's get them brought up to speed, that way we can get a feel of what the temperature is in the room at that time.
Oh, we're still short, so.
we wait till after.
July.
Yes. The problem is if you go in there and say $2 million, one more. And all of a sudden the next day we don't. No. We're gonna come back with a new plan. Once we know. Then we need to update CDP, but once this has become official, because either way, we're gonna tell them, update them with some kind of plan. Either we don't have this money and here's, we're still working on it, or we have that money, and here's our plans, here, we're still working on it.
well, let's go ahead and have a talk with them and just allow them to understand the variances that we're under. They haven't been told anything. This is my concern. Just to leave them out there and not include them in any of the discussions that we're having, to me is not good. Because when they flat make their mind up, okay, we haven't heard anything, we said this is gonna happen, they'll execute. Commissioner Moore,
Yeah,
you understand that, so
they're fine until they're not. You don't know when that might be, tomorrow, that could be one, 2 months. Just, once they decide, that's the decision.
if you got a little bit of information, but then you follow it up with a little bit more information, there's a consistency there, and I think they respect that. I know with my dealings with them, it's better to be transparent, and I know that we've got, when we use that word 1,000 times in a sentence, but with them, you better put some souls on the shoe with them. So I think it would be to our benefit to meet with them and say, okay, this is where we're at. We're moving forward, but the wheels of progress sometimes move slowly.
It would probably take that long to get a meeting on the calendar with the.
It may, but you know what, as long as we're reaching out to them and we're showing, good faith and moving this along, I think it'll go a long way. So. Okay. All right, the next item, E, the STED annual meeting.
C.
USDAC. Okay, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, USDAC. Before I'm gonna ask if you would allow me.
Sure, USDA has a rural business development grant, that started with obviously with, rural business development. We did the study of that designation. My proposal and my thoughts in this was, we have the Front Street problem. That's currently occupied and, held. To do a feasibility study for businesses, potential businesses at that location, right, to develop that Front Street property so that it becomes a revenue generator for OHPA, as opposed to just saying, the piece of land that people want to. It's a feasibility study, so it's certainly not a design and build. They will look at that, the best and highest and best use of the land. And then they will render a final report that you require an agency match, which is 25%. But typically these feasibility study. Estimated to be $100,000 total. And so that would be approximately 75,000 for grant money and then 24,000 for agency match, as this is not full property. Which would be over that. That was there, you got the information on the notice of funding opportunities.
Yes, so submission application due date is June 30th. It's coming up fast. And total amount to be awarded is 27.7 million. We'll focus on the small dollar projects, and we don't need local match, but like the PIDP, it'll earn us some points if we put money in the in the game. And then the next decision is who's going to write the application.
It, this is just me talk. It doesn't look like too complex of a, right now. It's all certainly take that up, honestly, with, if it is that, those in review, when we go to, folks, and then we'll take that over to Black project.
I did a quick search just now. It says that these are eligible for 100% federal funding. Did it say in the NOFO that you had to match?
It does not. And we're saying that correctly in one version of the law, and it does not require it, but if you get in, if you put in 25%, you get just like the UIDP,
Yeah.
and they have it actually here, put in 25%, yeah, 3 additional points in that category. If you put in 50%, you get 8 points. If you put in 100% match, you get 10. So it puts you in a higher category, which obviously increases your chance of receiving that. And with our with our new revenue source going along, I think this is an opportunity for the Midway to expand its business portfolio and hopefully develop another revenue source that is not specific to it, that makes us less dependent on the monies that we get from the assets to foster business. It increases our chance of business.
Questions, concerns? Any objection to Commissioner Moore taking on the writing of that?
And what is our second meeting in from June?
June. Sorry, the connection is slow. So the 10th and the 24th.
So I will have a final from my standpoint now prior to the 25th meeting. The commissioner to take on the changes in this too. Hopefully we can have that final version put together by one gentleman prior to vote to consider another prior to meeting.
What's the deadline?
June 30th.
Any any other discussion on that before we move on? All right, on D, we have the FSTED annual meeting, August 26th, 27th. I think it would be a good idea if we had, a representative there. Mr. Moore, I hate to call him again, but, do you have any comment on that?
I think it's, you are spot on, very important to have a representative, there are big changes, of brewing in Hempstead as far as, these sort of grant allocations. Um, they're, they're attempting to develop a process that is, more centered on internal investment as opposed to, I don't want to say guarantee, which is not a guarantee, but, where they kind of divvy up the 25, and ultimately $40 million instead of grants, using some sort of formula to each port. They would like it bigger, the larger ports would like it to be tied more directly to internal investment in China, which obviously is going to skew towards the larger ports, so they get more revenue in, so for a dollar standpoint, their internal investment is going to look larger than a small port, some of the other. They attempted to have a vote on that last week, which was tabled for some potential sunshine law violations or concerns that some of the state board members had. It hasn't been scheduled for a revote, and then the additional information about sunshine law compliance. And then they have to go back to start over again, make sure that they're in compliance with the sunshine law as opposed to the process that you. But yes, I agree, we should understand we are financially, constrained, so, I wouldn't demand full compensation. I'm gonna be there for 2 nights at a hotel, really, I don't know that. Then.
Yep.
Yeah, we're looking good on that, to cover a couple nights down there.
We'll have $1,000.
Okay. I
So
think
I was just, yeah, I was just playing one hotel night. And then the driving. The weekend, so.
let's see, there's a whole lot. When you're traveling, I think if fuel at the cost that it is right now, we need to take care of that fuel.
I need the mileage.
I think you're wrong, yeah. So if you would consider that, we'll make that arrangement, with the board's approval. So if, we can get a motion to send, like I said, but you know, do this meeting and this topic that, he can represent this board. Any objection?
Who seconded?
Aye. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Commissioner Moore, I think we should, like, you and I should have a little talk, but this reminds me, that I had a meeting last week with Lauren Smith, who's the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy at USDOT. So he's a heavy hitter up the chain, and it was sort of what I didn't plan the speech, but sort of asked him about Fernandina and small ports, and so I started talking and I said, listen, I was at the Port of Charleston, I was a young buck, and I remember they broke ground the Hugh Levy terminal in 2004, and they opened it 3 years ago. That's how long it takes to build a port. I said, if the state and federal level, these sort of secondary ports keep neglecting them, we need those ports, not only for the efficient movement of goods, but what if the unthinkable happened, right? Like the container was invented because of the Vietnam War. So, So, I'd love for you to sort of use some of that ammo when you get in that meeting.
And I believe as. I believe in the Dutch law, I'm familiar with public, strictly the following, you don't know. So, anybody can attend,
Okay,
related like.
it's in Tallahassee.
Ah,
It's in Tallahassee.
no, this is in Jensen.
All right, y'all got about 100 beaches in the state. Where's Jensen Beach?
Where is that?
Yeah, so right by Jensen City.
Where's that?
It's up there. It's South Central, East Coast Florida,
Like Canaveral?
South.
Okay, all right.
Cape Canaveral.
I think it's probably, say, it's in between Palm Beach County and Cape Canaveral. Is that about right?
Okay.
It's probably a 3-hour drive, 3.5. From here.
It's about 20. Okay. Okay.
We got that, all right, with the facility usage fee. I'm gonna ask him if you would kind of expound on that, because.
Sure. Yes, so because I know these by heart now, the sections of the agreement. Ted, first I spoke with about this with Amy Polson, and I exchanged a letter. At the time, I said, and I read it, in favor of OPA and said, we need to have $50,000 in this account every single year. And so we talked it over, and she told me what her position was, and I don't disagree that it can be read that it's a one-time $50,000 fee. And so I wrote the letter that we've been talking about for several months. And it's not on any letterhead, it's just a draft, so that we can move this forward, because I know that Ted wants to just go ahead and make the $50,000 payment. And then after that, with regard to the insurance, what's been happening, the property insurance that OPA is responsible for, and we've talked about it at these public meetings, the operator has paid that because there's not enough in the facility use fee collectible as of yet for OPA's 25% to pay that $400,000 plus property offense premium. So I've been covering it and not remitting 25% to us. In reading it again, I remembered that there's a few percent of 25%, as I say in the letter, and I think that should come to OPA first before there's any set off for endurance. And so that's how I wrote that in the letter. This letter implicates and covers section 4 of the operating agreement, which at the end of section 4, it talks about OPA's responsibility to pay the property insurance when funds are available, which they're not. And then section 6 of the operating agreement talks about facility use fee, year 7, a collection or a remittance by the operator, 25% of that collected facility use fee. So this is nothing new. It should not be anything shocking or even objectionable by the operator. So here it is, and we need to move it forward so we can get that part of our understanding memorialized.
So
That's the first time you saw it.
Yeah, first time I saw
That's
it, so
right.
just let me run it through the channel. If you would allow me to kick it to the next meeting, and then in between then we'll redline it or.
Do you have just off the top of your head, because I haven't studied the numbers, how much is collected monthly for the facility use fee, or at least?
I think we report that to y'all now.
I know, but I have.
Oh, I don't.
I'm just ballpark.
So
the 3%, about $3,000.
A month, a year, the 3%. Oh, it's something.
At 25%, the 25%, 3% of 25%.
Right, so annually, Pierre says approximately $3,000 is what we're talking about with the 2%.
That's what we put in the budget. When we're discussing this, to whether it came out.
I got you, okay.
So
just to kind of put, and you guys can also crunch those numbers, but we're talking
Yeah.
about 3%. Right now, y'all are holding back all of the 25%, Ted. What, the only thing different in this letter, was, and the $50,000 one-time fee, is that what we're asking is, can we get the 3% first?
Okay,
And then the rest.
no,
of
I
it-
understand what it's, now
It's
I'm,
like a little nut for, for OPA. It's not a lot of dollars. I didn't know exactly what they were, but I knew it wasn't that much and it would be helpful. And it would have been agreement.
Question is, we're in year 8, I think.
Well, yeah,
Trainer. So obviously this was supposed to start in year 7.
Yeah.
But obviously that's where we put in our budget last year. And then, like I said, this insurance came up and that's where this whole thing came up.
Right.
Right, because we had it in the budget. So,
I
so
think
this is the time
probably
frame
then. Yes, and I don't crunch numbers, so somebody needs to probably crunch the numbers. If we're going to, and also consider whether or not you want this to be retroactive, which it should be, because. If we're gonna agree to that 3%, again, it's not a lot of dollars. But perhaps we can go back to the beginning of year 7, October of 24. Because year 8 started
Right.
October 25.
Yeah.
So we're like 16, 17 months in. If we're gonna, if we were to collect that 3%, how much is that? I don't think it's very much, but it's something.
but I mean, it wasn't that much in the budget anyway. So it wasn't, it was somewhat when we had a budget last year.
For the
Again,
whole year.
that was your set of the budget, that's what included. And then that's what this whole discussion about. When does the insurance come out? Does the 3% come after, before the insurance? Is it $50,000? That's the start of our discussion.
So, and to be clear, this is not like some other things that we've done in the past, because we're starting fresh with how we're doing these agreements. This is literally something we've talked about. for
Yeah,
months. It's totally a proposal for review. I drafted it up, so we made sure it got on this agenda. And based on what we've talked about, it's for discussion changes by OPA commissioners, by the operator. I hope that you will, though, consider the 3% upfront.
okay, thanks.
Roseanne, if you would, put this on the,
June 10,
June 1st meeting,
okay.
and that'll give you time to look it over. You know, it may be only 3,000, but it's 3,000.
Yeah, and then
If you would here, look at it and try to come up with a firm figure so that when we do be back, we can address that. So, any other questions or concerns from the commission?
So can we send you any comments that we have?
absolutely, yes. And what I will do is if you send me comments, I mean, I may have follow-up questions, but I will send those to Ted also. So that, he can look at it.
Does the operating agreement, you and the operating agreement talk about the, operator folds, the, 25% facility use?
No. No,
So they should be remitting that to,
we could argue that should just be remitted to us.
and then at the end of the year.
There's an insurance premium. due.
That's the.
Yeah.
Has anybody looked at the insurance estimate? Because I recall in the operating agreement that it talks about insurance, but it talks about specific types of insurance
Mhm.
for specific purposes.
I have not seen, there should be a declarations page for
Yes.
property and casualty.
Yeah,
It'll be separate from your liability lines of insurance, and I'm sure Ted can give that to
yeah,
you.
right now we're 368, I think it's the latest. Well, so we went out to bid and we worked to get those numbers down. And so one thing that helped is, it's nothing to do with y'all, but I mean, you'll appreciate this. I went and started looking at our asset list and we're insuring stuff that hasn't run in years. And so by bringing down our property insurance, it brought down kind of everything for the poor. So that's why we were at that 400 level and we've been kind of chipping away to get it down. But yes, I'll have John look at it, Ridgewood look at it. We'll try to,
I copied John
Okay.
when I sent the.
I'll try to spin it up.
I'm I'm not a math major, I'm in math school, but, just some, straight, freshman level mathematics, if you assume that, 25% represents a certain thing, then you, consider what 100% would equal, and then you take the estimated taxes. It's not a whole lot of money left. We're talking in the, single digit value. So even when we get to 100% of the facility use fees, we're not talking about any, obviously every penny counts. Yeah, we should look away from it, but, if any of us are looking at the facility use fees, we go to 100%. So that, we'll wait until we need them to be set to the seven.
Okay, anything else on that? All right. We'll move on down to F, City of Fernandina Beach Harbor Master Plan. They're looking for a contact person. Apparently they're calling in an engineer to, look over their facility, and they would like our input, which I think is great. So, anybody paying for that one? You got it. Commissioner Hill. Roseanne, will you submit that to the city?
Yes,
I think it's the assistant director,
it is
city
Mr.
manager.
Deputy City Manager.
Yeah, so if you would just pass her information along to
Okay.
him, that way he can get in direct contact with her. And we'll put her on that. So I appreciate the city, taking us into consideration, and wanting us to be part of that, feedback.
Yeah, if you need Travis to help with that from a technical standpoint, he'll be happy to help Phil to be in the safety resource.
Put that on the list and go. All right. Anything else? We'll move on down to the office manager report.
So real quick, just updates. CHAB, are you going to, sorry, may I address Mr. McNair? Do you plan on submitting any other applications into CHAB, or just the small projects that we're talking?
So, remind me again, what's the deadline for there's, wait a
June
minute,
16 is the deadline for CHAB.
for C-Hub, for the bigger projects, right?
And we could discuss that tomorrow, like,
Yeah, and that's, all right, so remind me, Commissioner, is this the year they're splitting it into the two things? Or is this a preview for next year?
It's the submissions that are going in this year. The ones that we submitted, they're following.
The old one, okay.
So there's two projects
Yep,
that the core funding has to submit, whereas the years past. There was 5 here and there, and break and stuff, and two projects, and you pick which one to chop up.
okay. And then the deadline to submit is,
June 16,
so when's our next meeting?
June 10.
I think we should put it on the agenda. Y'all have a consensus on what we're gonna submit. I mean, we have already listed, right? But don't we need, or do we? I'm not very good at this.
I would suggest that the ones that been submitted from this year. Relay, identify the two that they believe are the top five. And then the next meeting, we can discuss and
Right.
conditions can set changes.
I'm just thinking out loud because we've knocked down some of these with these ad hoc grants, the crane, and then the 4 that are kind of the ones that are outside the normal. So we just need to come back together and make sure we're collaborating on exactly what we're doing. But we got one more meeting to get it done. I'd say you and I connect after the meeting tomorrow. We'll get a pathway forward.
If I have it tomorrow.
And on that meeting tomorrow, that's at 10 o'clock.
That's the 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock with FPA.
That's
I'm talking about the, yeah, the deputy.
Meredith,
10 o'clock, yep.
I will deal.
your attending.
Where are you gonna meet up at the dock office?
Right there, at the guard shack. So I figured I'd come out there with PPE and it's gonna be hot a little bit.
All right.
Hmm.
And on the wall.
Yeah.
There's more. So FMIT, our insurance, the renewal process began for the fiscal year 2026-2027. I will go ahead and complete the required forms for that if the board wants to stay with FMIT.
Any comment?
What insurance is that for?
That is for Pierre
liability.
liability.
Just everything else, other than property is the only one, all the other insurance companies are sensitive to workers' comp
Workers.
cases. So, it's
I'm
probably.
not having any problem with
No.
it.
No.
We stay status quo and move on.
Just to explain, if anybody doesn't know, including those that are watching. So FMIT is one of two government insurance trusts that cover Florida government agencies and special districts. So it's not like you have a whole market, to shop. You've got FMIT, which is Florida Municipal Insurance Trust, and you have PGIT, Preferred Governmental Insurance Trust. So you have to go with either one of those for these liability coverages.
Again, if we're satisfied, as long as we're not having any problem, I see no reason to change. Commissioner?
Thank you. I will go ahead and proceed completing the required forms. And lastly, the PEC auditorium is not open for OHPA meeting in June and July. Commissioner Taylor has confirmed that we have a home at the Residence Inn for June 10th and July. The first meetings in June and July, but we don't have a place to meet for the second meetings in June and July.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that the second. That we,
Cancel.
we just cancel those. That way, we need to be on it for the June meeting and get everything done, needs to be done in preparation for that second meeting not happen. So without any objections, we'll go ahead and set that up to where we'll have one meeting in June, one meeting in July.
Thank you.
I would like to point out that, I was gonna go this on the commissioner's items. But I'll write it down now. We're, approaching the start of the fiscal year. We need to, budget appropriately. My suggestion is with relatively space in that contract coming along, we should probably take a look at how OHPA's budget is structured and effectively do a white page reevaluation budget. Make sure that we have the appropriate count, make sure we know the money that's going, the accounts is coming from, and make sure that we have a common lexicon and what the names of the accounts are, so that everybody's speaking to the same sheet either. And we budget appropriately with this new contract coming along, so that we don't repeat some of the sins of the past where we get to the end of certain pools of money. You look around and there's no money left, and you kind of go out, where did the money go? At least this way we can look towards sustaining and building emergency reserve probably allocating money to the cost where we got, the money for, that way you know, if they do leave that for months, we budget appropriately, and we can continue to have that money as we move forward, we try to spend it into, the visit portfolio.
I have a question. So, Peter, do you want the FY 26-27 budget discussion to start in June? Because we're not gonna have a second meeting in June and July, and then we have to approve it by September 30th.
We'll have a draft budget by July. So when we discuss it or not, we'll prepare a draft budget
In July, okay,
and obviously August, because obviously it has to be approved by September.
30th.
Within the first meeting, September first is approved by October first, so. You know, we're one workshop, depending on, you know, how you want to put this together. Obviously, June will be working on the budget. The idea that we have at least first draft of the budget by the July meeting. We say give us, you know, the August meetings to discuss it, obviously September meeting to approve. So.
Will that, is the contract with, relatively, is that can be signed?
With me, no, it's, I mean, it's right there, we're just a few little. Minor items should be done by the end of the week.
We need transparency on the sign, version.
Yeah. November one. November 1. November 1. That's set, it's just some other minor stuff.
Yeah, I just want visibility about the board. What's going on.
All right, anything else on that? All right,
That's it,
you
thank
got
you.
it, okay. Board commissioners, island scope.
None.
Oh,
I spoke on these, that's best.
So I'll share with Rosanna documents from the TPO and FDOT projects updates. There's a resurfacing project along A1A that comes to Fernandina, so really affecting, you know, districts on this side of the county. It's a major resurfacing project, the largest projects that are getting through FDOT cycle. I shared that information with her just in case we're trying to share that with your constituents or provide feedback, any of your community can comment. And we typically don't get a lot of participation in Bath County on those calls, but we did have folks from hearing with the county and the city called into the call to discuss those appropriations. So as you remember, TPO gets $25 million or a little larger budget. They approved because of the said they get to approve FDOT's funding for our region. So for Duval County, Clay County, Baker County, Nassau. And so our share right now is small of these federal funds, but we do get access to rural funds. And so it's good for Nassau County to participate, to you know, be aware of our overall share. We are typically very present in those discussions and those circles. And so more participation is better. You know, I attend all the meetings, but it's good for more touch on. So I continue to work, try to fill that additional seat that we have from Nassau County. But if you have any comments, there's a link in that in the web link that Rosanna circulated. So search your mail inbox for the TPO feedback. That's it.
okay, anything else?
Clear.